If you want to learn a new skill, you will have to practice as often as possible. That is, if you want to learn a new sport like ballet, you should practice or stretch every day. If you want to learn a new language, you have to try to speak. Same goes for kimono. If you want to be really good at kimono dressing, you should practice every day, which is with all the stuff you need to wear kimono. At least when I was in kimono school, I found it always a little bit annoying to pull out all the things and then put them back. So here are a few practices you can do without wearing a kimono. Here's a probably not so well-known fact about me. I am a beginner figure skater. I started taking classes 1.5 years ago in my late 30s, and I'm proud of it. I'm not saying I'm any good, but it showed me really well how important it is to practice off the ice.
Wax on, wax off.
So see this video as a bunch of different exercises you can do for kimono dressing without actually having to wear a kimono. Okay, for one practice, we will need a kimono. But besides that, no kimono needed. And now I noticed that I have to get changed again after just filming for like 7 minutes. Let's go. I'm really sad. I'm just sad. And now you can get down in the comments and tell me how weird you find it seeing me wearing Western clothes. Go ahead, do it. I'm gonna wait for you.
First wash all the calf, then wax.
The first practice you can always do, and is probably the most well-known, is wearing an obi over Western clothes. Just trying to tie an obi over Western clothes. Super easy, very straightforward. This is nothing I want to include in this video because you can just take any obi musubi practice video from my Patreon or here on YouTube and just practice over your regular clothes. I want to include the tiny practices you can do when you have a little bit of spare time during your day, or if you're watching a series and you just sit there on the couch and instead of scrolling simultaneously on your phone, you can take a tie and practice. And this is also the first practice I want to do with you, how to wrap and tighten a tie properly. Let's first go over a few mistakes that I see very often. Let's say you're doing this correctly here. I hope most of you do. You're gonna hold the kimono usually in place with your right hand. You have the 4 fingers on front. Your thumb is here on the back holding it. This is used very often, especially on the Koshihimo. When you hold this down here, your thumb back here is basically holding the whole kimono in place for you. It sounds weird, but it's true. It's just this thumb here. So your 4 fingers here on the front can actually lift. And then you're going to give the right side of your tie in. And then what I see very often, people start to just wrap this around, bring it to the back, cross, and then they pull somewhere here, and then tie on the front. This is the worst and most uncomfortable way to do it. And you can also see that my tie is not very even on the front. Oh my God, I have to take this off. Whew. So how do we do this correctly? So again, you're gonna hold this in place with your right hand. You're gonna have the tie in the center and you give again the right side into your right hand. And then what is important here is you will see that I don't start passing the tie around. I'm staying with my left hand in the center of my tie and I'm gonna hold this through so I can put tie center on body center, push it down. You're gonna pass it to the left, push it down, and then with both hands you're gonna pass it to the right, and then you can see I'm staying with both hands on my body and I cross here. And here I also want to make sure that I don't drop the tie. A lot of people drop the tie here. You want to stay up here. You always want to be on the same level when you wrap something in kimono dressing. You want to keep approximately the same level you have wrapped it on back and front. And then you can see my hands are here right next to the crossing, and I take a big breath. I pull here to tighten, and then I'm gonna pass You can see my hands are gonna stay on my body when I pass this to the front and tie a bow. And you can see I have approximately the same length of bow because I passed center on body center. Why does it have to be exactly like that? In general, what you have to keep in mind, we don't drag the tie. A tie is like working like a pin, and you just pin the tie onto specific spots. So when I pass this here into my right hand, this is not just quite yet the first pin, but I pull this through and pin this on, and it's also my right hand pins it on. Can you see how I really push this on then? And then when I bring this over to the left, I pin this on. I pass it to the back, cross. And the reason why I want you to take a big breath and tighten back here with both hands, not having your hands somewhere here, is because it's gonna open up your chest and you stand up tall. And also because you're taking a big breath, it's how much you need to be actually able to breathe, right? So you're taking a big breath and you pull here. Also, when you pull here, it's gonna give you maximum control over how much you want to tighten. When you pull here, you can tight lace like this. And that's what we don't wanna do in kimono. You don't wanna tight lace. You want to just have the right amount of tightness of your tie. So you cross, breathe in to open up the chest.
Don't forget to breathe, very important.
Pull to tighten, and then pass it to the front. And I really want you guys to build up the habit of passing stuff to the front along your body, not like this. Also with the obi, when you wrap the obi, you always pass the obi along your body around. My hands never leave my body, my torso, whatever I do on kimono when I wrap something. This is probably one of the mistakes I see the most in kimono dressing. We're gonna do one more round with the tie with only the instructions of the tie, and that's gonna be it. Okay, so I'm gonna hold this in place with my right hand, thumb to the back. You're gonna take the tie in the center, give the right side into your right hand, let it slide through your right hand to put tie center on body center, pass it to the left, pin it on, pass it to the back, cross, don't let your hands drop, stay on the same height, breathe in, pull to tighten, bring it to the front and tie, let's say just a bow. Okay, let's go to the next practice.
Remember, dear, no question.
The next one is my absolute favorite. We're going to do the Obijime. I have students doing the Obijime everywhere. I have them sitting in online meetings, tying the Obijime while listening. I have students tying their bathrobe ties into the Obijime knot every day. I personally, by the way, love to tie all my sweatpants with the Obijime knot. Obijime knot is something I think that's the easiest to master in kimono dressing because you can practice it so randomly. But for the sake of practice, I'm going to use an Obijime. Doesn't matter how we pass it to the back and bring it to the front at this point because we only want to practice the knot. And then you want to make sure you have the same length on both sides. You're gonna put left over right, pull the left side through and tighten the knot. And this is my personal step. I'm gonna take both ends with the right hand first and pull it away from my clothes so I can remove wrinkles on one side and then switch hands to the same on the other. And then we're gonna close again or tighten again. So you're gonna hold this crossing point here. Put your small fingers right next to the crossing. Those are holding 90% of your strength right now and tighten. And then you're gonna fold the left side straight up and let go of index finger and thumb. And when you hold it like this, you can try it, just let go of your right side. If you hold this correctly, your Obijime is not loosening up. You're gonna take the right side, fold it straight back, put it into the corner of your thumb. You can see really important is that this is standing like a painting against the wall. It's not laying down, it's standing here. And then I'm holding the crossing point between my index finger and thumb. I'm gonna pick the left side up, let this flip towards myself, put it through the loop. And then you can see I take the Obijime that's in here and I pull this over onto my Obijime that's already there. And same on the other side. And I place this on and hold like this, and then my Obijime is already forming. And then I pull with my left hand. And when you pull, you really want to feel how it's tightening in. And then with my right hand to lock it in. Ta-da! Okay, let's do this a little bit faster. So you want to check to have the same length on both sides. Put left over right, pull the left side through and tighten the knot. Take both ends and pull them away. Remove wrinkles to one side and then to the other. And then you tighten again. Make again sure that your small fingers are right next to the knot. You fold the left side straight up. Let go of your next finger and thumb. You don't have to let go every single time. It's good enough if you just fold horizontally back. Put this into the corner of your thumb. Hold the crossing point. Pick up the left side. Let it flip towards you through the loop. And then you're going to hold this in place. Other hand also goes down and hold this here in place. And then you're going to pull left, right to tighten and tuck the tassels in. And as I said, you can do this practice with everything and everywhere, whatever tie you have.
Right circle, left circle.
And since we have already done the Obijime, you might have guessed it. Yes, the Obiage is also something that's super easy to practice. I do recommend having an Obimakura for this too, to give you a little bit more of a better feeling of the Obiage. It's not necessary though. So I'm gonna quickly put on my Obimakura. It is not at all the usual spot where it's tight, but without kimono and without padding, You probably have noticed that I am not a fan of having the Obiage pre-wrapped around the Obimakura. So many reasons why I don't like it. My Obimakura is dropping. Let's just tie it above the chest. So the reason why I have the Obimakura on is because you can then practice to lift this on your back, tuck this behind the Obimakura, gather up the sides, and bring it to the front. And then you're gonna let this rest in your elbows, and we're starting on one side, left or right, doesn't matter. If you wanna start with me, we're gonna start on the left side. And I'm first taking the top edge here and check if my Obiage is twisted to the back. And then you can see I'm gonna fold in the stripes. So I'm gonna fold in the top third and the bottom third. So I'm gonna fold down the top third and the bottom third. And one of the biggest mistakes I see very often is that people kind of want to do the ends as well. You don't have to do the ends at all, because in the end, you're gonna tie your Obiage here in the center of your body, and the ends are later just gonna be tucked under, so it doesn't matter what is happening to the ends. So if you don't know, I have a hedgehog as a pet. In my community we call this the hedgehog hold. So you can see I'm about one hedgehog size from my body when I work on the Obiage. So I'm gonna fold down the top third, hedgehog size, and I fold up the bottom third. And then you're gonna turn it, so you show yourself the centerpiece on top, and fold this in half with the open side facing down. You wanna break it like a piece of chocolate. You're gonna hold this in place with your right hand. Left hand just slides to the back to fold it down to the back. Look, so pretty. And then same on the other side. We're gonna make sure it's not twisted, and then fold down the top third. Again, you can see I'm working here, hedgehog size from my body, and I'm going to fold up the bottom third, and I'm gonna turn it so I show myself the centerpiece on top, and I break it like a piece of chocolate. Rittersport. I'm gonna hold this in place with the left hand now. Right hand slides to the back to fold it down to the back. Good. And then we're gonna pick up the left side and you put left over right, pull the left side through, and you want to tighten the knot. And you hold this in place with your left index finger so you can pull the right side straight and wrap this once around the knot. And then you can basically let go. Look, it's already looking so pretty just by doing all these steps properly. And now I'm gonna make sure that I have up here about 5.5 to 6 centimeter width. It's a little bit more than 2 inches. And you're gonna wrap this around 4 fingers of your left hand and put the tail between thumb and index finger. You're gonna take the other side, put this between middle finger and index finger. And then your right hand takes the tail on top. Let go of index finger and thumb so you can put your index finger into the loop around your left hand here. So you're basically putting index finger next to index finger. Hold this in place with your thumb on top so you can pull the left hand through. You let everything fall. Don't tighten right away. Let everything fall. Make sure everything is nice and straight. And then we're gonna tighten left, right, left, right. And you're gonna put the ends here into the Obiage that's folded in half. You can just push here everything to the front. And same to the other side. And that is how you do the Obiage, and you can practice this over and over again. You don't need an Obimakura every single time, but as I said, it lets you practice really, really well how to lift this and tuck this behind the Obimakura, and then also how to have the right feeling here when the Obimakura is on.
All in release, tie up, down, long stroke. Very good, up, down, no, look me, look fence.
Let's do the next practice, and that is going to be how to lift the Obimakura. There is this misconception of how to lift it correctly, that is, people are trying to slap it on. People are trying to do this half circle away from the back and then bring it onto their shoulder blades. This hurts and I cannot even do it. How we work on Obimakura is quite simple. We have to think of it like an elevator that is going up the back. So when I hold this, you can see I'm not moving this away from my body. I'm staying on here and lift this up like an elevator, just straight up. It's also important how you hold the Obimakura. So when I hold this, you can see I hold the Obimakura like this with my thumbs here on the flat side of the Obimakura, and you can see my 4 fingers here right on the tie, but still holding the Obimakura. And this is really important because then you can lift this up, go to the ties and bring it straight to the front and tie a bow on the front. If you stay only on the ties like this, you kind of it's not giving you enough control over the obi, right? So you really want to stay on the Obimakura, but you also don't want to be too tight because then you get locked in here when you try to move onto the ties. So you really just want to stay here where the ties are attached, and then just lift this up and bring it to the front. And when you bring it to the front, same rule, you stay against your body. You don't pass it to the front like this. If you want to try this, you can see this again kind of doesn't give you enough control. But when you stay here against your body, when you bring it to the front, it's so much easier to control. The actual practice, what we're gonna do is lifting the Obimakura 10 times. We're gonna do 3 sets of that. And at the very last time, I want you to bring the ties to the front. So we're going to hold the Obimakura, and the first set, I want you just to stay under your shoulder blades here. So we're going to lift 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Bring the ties to the front and tie a bow. And again, make sure that you don't lift the ties to the front and don't drop them on the front. It should be on the same height as it is on the back. We're going to do set number 2. If you can, I want you to go a little bit higher than you did. Not at your limit just yet. We're still like a little bit warming up. If you can, I want you to try to place the Obimakura onto the bottom of your shoulder blades. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Bring the ties to the front. I have to lift them a little bit so I don't have to tie them directly on my chest, but tie it on the front. You can hopefully feel when you do this that it really helps when you move your shoulders to the back and try to squeeze your shoulder blades together. This is the shoulder movement that really helps here. So you really want to move your shoulders to the back. Proud chest, stand tall, and then it's so much easier to lift. So we're going to do now the last set, and I want you to do the limit of this movement. Go as high as you can. So we're also going to do every slide up a little bit slower. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and last one, the tallest one, 10. Bring it to the front and tie a bow. No, I could actually do a little bit higher than that. And now the Obimakura should actually not sit this high on your back. It doesn't have to, but it's nice to know when you can reach this high up. The more you practice this, the more you will notice you get flexible in your shoulders, and it's going to be easier and easier to put on the obi.
Show me pin to fence. Face! Yes!
And the last practice is actually going to use the kimono. With the kimono, there's not a lot you can actually practice without wearing the proper undergarments. So if you have collar issues, or if you have ohashuri issues, that has to be practiced with proper undergarments. You cannot really do that without. But something you can practice is the hem. So with this practice, you can simply put the kimono on your shoulders, have your arms through the sleeves. The collar really doesn't matter, but we want to center the center back seam. To center the center back seam, you want to make sure that your kyo-eri here on the front aligns on the same height. You want to fold the collar in for 2.5 centimeters or 1 inch. You're going to pinch this together with your right hand. Left hand goes to the center back seam, pull it down and back up. You're going to put both thumbs onto the collar seam. We're going to fold the collar over the thumbs and slide down onto one hand size from the end of the collar. Turn your hands out, make a fist, and lift this up until under your armpits. And then I'm holding this perpendicular or in a 90-degree angle to my body. You're gonna turn your hands down and let all fingers fall except index finger and thumb. And let the kimono slide down until the hem touches the floor. When you do this, make sure that you keep your hands above your chest when you let this slide down, to place the back hem on the floor first. And then we're going to put the corners of the kimono onto the floor as well. And now the microphone cable will be an issue. We're going to bring the left side over to your right and make sure to cover up your right thigh. And also when you look down on yourself, you should not see your feet. You can see there are no toes peeking out at this point. And I'm gonna open up. Gonna put the right side on the floor, let the hem sweep the floor when I bring this over. And then I should not see the toes peeking out. And then you're gonna lift this up for about 10 centimeters, 4 inches. Hold this in place. Right thumb goes into the Miyatsuguchi. Push forward and slide up to remove wrinkles. Make sure the left side is on the floor. Bring this straight over. When you look down, you should not see your toes. And we're gonna lift this up just a tiny bit to show your tiptoes. You're gonna hold this in place with your right hand with the thumb to the back. We've already talked about this. I'm staying here about the height of my belly button. Left thumb goes into the Miyatsuguchi, push forward and slide up to remove wrinkles. And this is the practice I was doing over and over and over again. I was checking after every single time if the hem is on the floor. And then I just did this same practice over and over again. And that was it for today's video. I hope you have enjoyed this. If you want to learn more about kimono from a professional kimono teacher, make sure to subscribe. I also have a Patreon community where we have 2 workshops a month where we go in depth about kimono dressing. Make sure to check that out if you want to learn more. I see you in my next kimono adventure. Happy practicing. Bye.